Hello, what's going on, everyone? Today, me and Titus are doing our review of the Fantastic Four First Steps, the new MCU film that came out today. Um, Let me actually share this stream real quick so we can get some gas lords in this stream here.
Let me get some gassies.
All
Mm.
right, where's Brennan's server? There it is. We're talking about. So Titus went and saw it last night. I saw it this morning.
Yup.
So I also read the Galactus trilogy last night, which is issues 48, 49, and 50. That series, that those three issues are kind of the primary inspiration for the movie. And there's other stories that were, they based it on. Like I don't know where it's from, but like Franklin Richards, I don't know what issues is he from?
Um, I'm trying to remember exactly when Franklin is born. I don't remember top of my head. I don't think it's in the Kirby run.
Hmm. So it's kind of like a lot of MCU stuff is. It's sort of a merge between the old stuff and the newer stuff. I mean, but that's like most of the MCU anyway, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. Um, but yeah, me and Titus, we both thought it was pretty good. Overall, it was a good movie. It's kind of a treat for comic fans because there's a lot of comic references in it. Um, if you like the comics, especially Fantastic Four comics. I mean, you'll recognize a lot of the references in it. Um, I know even I haven't even read a whole lot of Fantastic Four, just a few issues, but I caught on to some of the references. There was something another reference I think is kind of cool. It's not really a comic reference, but it's on a different Earth. Also, by the way, this is gonna have full of spoilers, so if you don't want spoilers, don't watch this. Um, the Earth that they're on is Earth 828. That's Jack Kirby's birthday, August 8th or 28th. So, which I thought was kind of a neat nod to him. Um,
Yup.
I don't know if you caught that, Titus,
I
but
didn't catch it till the end, but now it makes sense because if you remember at the very last post credit scene when they showed the Jack Kirby quote, it started off with the numbers 828.
yeah. So that I thought that was a really neat kind of Easter egg. The movie itself is just a huge, finally the MCU is doing this. It's a huge nod to Jack Kirby and his work. Um, because I don't think people really understand this, MCU fans. They don't understand that Jack Kirby, there would be no Marvel without Jack Kirby. It's not like Stan on his own was doing all that. No. And it wasn't even just Stan and Jack Kirby. You also have Steve Ditko. You had Chris Claremont later on. You had John Byrne. I mean, and you had all these great people that were writing these stories, and the Marvel universe wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for these people. Um, so I think Jack should be getting more credit than what he does. Um, Especially for Fantastic Four because that was kind of his brainchild. Um, so, but Titus, what is some of your favorite? What are your favorite parts of the movie? Like, what are things that stood out to you?
Um, well, the things that stood out to me the most, and this is my greatest praise for the movie, is that I felt like that the characters, not characters, the actors, really nailed the personalities of the characters because when the casting had came out, I think maybe 2 years ago now, I was very, very skeptic on how well they're gonna do, especially Pedro Pascal. It's like I never looked at Pedro and said, "Oh yeah, that guy could be Reed Richards." That never crossed
Right.
my mind once. I was unfamiliar with like Joseph Quinn and Vanessa Kirby, so I didn't really have any expectations for them. And for Ben, it's kind of the same thing, but Ben's not really so much a visual part because he's CGI, and for the most part, I mean he looks identical to how he does in the comics. So he looks identical to like the later Kirby style thing. It's just that I did not like the trailers because he didn't sound like Ben to me. It's like he sounded like, I don't know, too human, I guess. In the movie, I don't really mind it, but in the trailers, it's kind of like took me for a loss because in all other media, Ben has like a gravelly voice, like, "Oh, it's the thing, it's me, and I say clobbering time, and I do that, and I lift the car, and it talks like that." So
Right.
I don't know. But for the most part, I think that the actors did a very good job with replicating how the characters act and the type of dialogue that they say. I feel like it was realistic dialogue that the characters would say in the comics.
Right. Yeah, it was, I think it was very, there's this movie is just it's a lot more comic accurate compared to the other 3 Fantastic Four films. Um, and then there's other ways where it's not, where those films are more comic accurate. I think the most glaring example is Silver Surfer. We don't Silver Surfer's in it, but it's not the Silver Surfer we all know, right? It's literally a different character. It's not like they took Norrin Rad and made him a female. They took his girlfriend from the comics and made her the Silver Surfer. And I think that is the biggest flaw of the film to me. Um, for me, Titus, I don't, I think he might disagree. Um, but it was the biggest flaw for me because Norrin Rad's not in it. I mean, and it's almost like if like in Iron Man they took Pepper Potts and made made her the Iron Woman or whatever, or they took Peggy and made her the real Captain America, right? Which I guess they kind of did, but that was just an alternate universe version. But it's kind of like that. That's kind of how I see it, and it just doesn't work. I mean, it just doesn't. Um, Now I guess they did that because they wanted Johnny Storm to have like feelings for her, which is that ended up being the reason why you know, she became good, I guess. Or not really. I guess it's Johnny's connection to her that led him to want to redeem her,
Mm,
which is not as good to what, we saw in the comics. In the comics, it was like, he was Silver Surfer. He realized what he was doing, what he was implicating if he did this. So, but I know Titus, you had. Well, what are some of your issues
um,
with the movie?
my so my main issue is the pacing. I think that, and it's kind of a struggle for teen movies, and I see it a lot with superhero ones. Is that it's kind of hard for a superhero movie to divide time for each character and make them fleshed out in their own right. With the original Fox X-Men films, I think that's one of their biggest weaknesses, where it's like no one has really explored that much, and they kind of play favorites on who's really the main character out of the group. Like Wolverine is like the main character out of the group. Jean is more of a main character. Rogue is kind of more of a main character than, like, say, Cyclops in a group. And I think it's really kind of ass backwards because when you're telling a team story, you need to give everyone a spotlight. You can't just pick favorites. Um, but I think some of it's because of like time constraints and lack of good pacing. So I feel like this movie had its flaw in that, where I think that the main characters, the de facto main characters, were Reed and Susan. Johnny got some good moments in it, but I felt like that the pacing didn't make much room for Ben. Ironically, though, there was a lot of scenes where Ben was solo by himself, and they're supposed to be like character scenes. It's just that it didn't really mean much because of lack of articulation, um, lack of time given to him, and I don't know. It's just like it was very difficult to have a focus on Ben's dilemma, but also have room for the dilemma of Galactus, because I think that's where Johnny has more of a place in the movie. Because at least Johnny's dilemma is that he wants to crack the code to Silver Surfer's Shadowball's language and attempts to reaching out to her to help see the error of her ways. That is a plot thread that directly connects to wanting to stop Gladys from taking Franklin. Ben, on the other hand, his little scenes, they don't really connect to the movie. It's like I don't think they, maybe not because of pacing, they just didn't know how to incorporate character moments of Ben into like this massive sprawling storyline that was unfolding. Um, Outside of the pacing issue, I guess I kind of mentioned is that Ben. I think that it's the same issue. They didn't really give him room to breathe, so he kind of felt underdeveloped compared to the rest of the team. And it's sad because a lot of times in the comics, Ben is the heart and anchor of the team. All the different characters are kind of like anchors in themselves, but like I feel like Ben is like the real soul of Fantastic Four. And without him having like a real strong place, it's kind of hollow. Um Shala Ball, I think, is kind of also hollow too because I think her story it makes sense within the context of the movie. She sacrificed herself for the preservation of her world, and that's kind of like a recurring theme in the movie between the different characters. Where it's like Reed is trying to find a solution of saving Franklin, but without having to compromise and give up the world, or in reverse, giving up Franklin for the sake of the world. Um, that's kind of what the movie. I don't know really to explain it, but the movie does it a lot, where it plays with the idea of like the weight of consequences, compromise, and there's a lot of big things where like Reed is logical. He always takes like the hard, kind of morally cruel options, but it's the most logically sound ones. Susan's more emotional, and because of that, she wants the most emotional, positive action being taken without really logical thought into the consequences that will come out of it. Because she gets very mad at Reed in the movie that he even contemplates, what if I don't have any else, I don't have any solution to this, so what if I have to give up Franklin? Like she gets viscerally angry at that because she kind of wants to have her cake and eat it too. She wants to net positive to like all things. And then there's Galactus, where Galactus is not really much of a character in the movie, but he has a slight character where it's like he says that he bears like a heavy weight, he bears a heavy crown upon himself, being his hunger, his eternal cosmic hunger, and he wants to take Franklin to fill that role. But the consequence of doing that is removing Franklin from his family and indebting another soul to something that he was trying to himself to escape. I just think that the movie's interesting in that way, where it's like there's everyone is trying to get something, but there's always insane, maybe morally gray or bleak consequences that come out of it. So I guess that's really all my issues with the movie. It's an issue, but it's at the same time I think it's a positive to the movie. What about you, bro?
Well, Titus's issue is a little bit more grounded than mine. He's the Fantastic Four fan. I'm an X-Men fan, so I like the Fantastic Four, but I have not read the comics like he has. I've read a few, but I've not read like a whole bunch. Um, my issue was, like I said, the Shalabal Silver Surfer. I mean, I didn't like it. I think it's like a neat kind of concept, but I think with what say everything else in the film is comic accurate for the most part. Like Ben, not 100%, but everything else is fairly comic accurate. Um, Silver Surfer though, it's like every time I see her, like a female Silver Surfer, it just pulls me out of it because it's not comic accurate. Um, and it's like I know some people are like, well, comic accuracy doesn't matter, and it's like, well, in this movie it does because they're clearly trying to be comic accurate, and I don't know, it's just, and I think because they're clearly adapting such an iconic comic arc or a story arc from the comics, it's like, well, you kind of have to be comic accurate then. Now, like the general story is comic accurate, I guess. Galactus comes to Earth, Silver Surfer. He ends up betraying Galactus, and they end up, and because of that, they end up winning. So in that sense, it's the same, but of course the details are different. Um, the I this is such a small thing, but it kept pulling me out every time I saw it. The thing with a beard at the end. Um, it would have been cool if that was for, like, just a few scenes and he, fixes it, but the final battle, it's him with the damn beard, and it's just it looks stupid. I know it's like he's like that in the comics sometimes, but I just didn't like it. I I I was hoping he would shave it off and then, you know I guess I didn't like it because, we have a comic accurate thing, or at
Mm.
least in terms of his look. So and it's weird that like half the movie's ruined because he has a damn beard.
Oh yeah,
Or
like he
half
looks
his
weird.
yeah, like half of the movie his appearance is ruined because he has a beard. And it's just like I said, it would be funny if it was for one scene, you know, and he ends up shaving it off, but I didn't like that. Again, small detail, doesn't affect the plot, but it pulls you out of it as a fan. Um, because I don't know. And like I said, this is the only time we've had a really good comic accurate thing. The only other example I could think of is the 1994 Fantastic Four. Of course, that never came out. But this is a comic accurate, visually comic accurate thing. He has the large eyebrows, like he has in the comics. However, half of the film he has a beard, and it ruins it.
And
So
I mean, at least it results in that funny ass ending scene. Hey, you know what time it is, Ben? I'll say it. I won't say it. Say it. That shit was goofy. I ain't gonna lie. This shit was regular. Like, it's
it,
clobbering time.
yeah, I hated that they because obviously I think that's the thing. Like Flame On, I don't think that was even said in the movie. It's mentioned, but I don't think he actually says it. Johnny
No,
Storm.
yeah, the toy says it. The action figure says it.
Yeah, the action figures. See, that's what I don't like either. They took the catchphrases that they have and they made it like it's a just something like it's a fictionalized version of themselves in their world. I didn't like that. Um, because they actually do say that in the comics. Even to this day, they say those things.
Hell
So
yeah.
it kind of pulled me out of it too when they were taking those kind of things and making it like a novelty, like it's something that doesn't actually happen to them. Um, but um, I hope that is fixed in the Avengers films. I hope they actually do say those things. Yeah, it is corny, but the Fantastic Four are corny. Okay, they were made in a corny comic era.
I mean,
Um,
superheroes in general, like corny, man. It's
well,
like they
yeah,
gotta have
they
like
are
you gotta
corny.
let them have fun. You know, have them say stupid shit.
Yeah, and it's like there's nothing wrong with. But see, that's the thing. It's like they were trying to make this like a classic Fantastic Four story, but it's like they were then taken away some of the elements that made it classic, like Flame On or it's Clobbering Time or things like that. Things that are corny '60s stuff.
Right.
But um, there is another problem I have with it. And Titus and I talk. We agree on this. At the end of the movie, or towards the end, in the third act, um, Ben goes to a synagogue. Now, if you guys don't know this, Ben Grimm he's Jewish. And this is the only film, from what Titus has told me, that actually acknowledges the fact that he's Jewish. So he goes to a synagogue, and this is right before they fight Galactus. So, when he's going in there, I'm like, oh, okay, he's gonna sit down and, you know, do something spiritual, pray or something. But he only goes in there to see a girl. And it's very annoying because it's like, you acknowledge his, an essential part of who he is, and then you just make a mockery of it, where he's just in there just to meet a girl. And
Yep.
I don't like it. Um, it would have been cool if he went in there and he happened to see the girl and they sit down and they pray together. Okay, that would be
And
cool.
that would have been sweet, and that would have made sense.
Right. But instead, in fact, she asked him, "Hey, are you here for spiritual guidance?" He's like, "No, I'm just here to see you." And it was really bad. I remember watching at the theater. I'm like, because at first I'm like, "Oh, he's walking to synagogue. This is really cool." It's a part of who he is in the comic. But then he's just there to meet a girl. So it's almost like, is he even Jewish? Is it even confirming that in the movie?
I mean, yeah,
So
yeah. They trivialize like him being Jewish.
yeah, and it wasn't cool. That was probably the worst thing with Ben in the movie, I think. Now, I do wanna comment on his voice because I actually had the same feelings. Titus, like he said, in the movie or in the trailer, his voice didn't sound right, but it ended up working. It worked. He didn't have the accent either. He didn't have, like, the stereotypical New York,
Yeah,
accent that he kinda
like
has in the
that. Yeah.
yeah, that clearly has in the comic because Stan the way he kinda like how Rogue hit how Claremont writes her accent, Stan kinda did the same thing, um, but he didn't have the accent, which I think even if he didn't have the voice, the gritty kinda coarse voice that he has, if he at least had the accent, I think it would've worked 10 times better. Again, it wasn't bad, it worked, but it could have just been better with the accent. Um, I guess, yeah, Ben did have a lot of problems in the movie, the more I think about it.
So I'm saying, bro. I mean, shit. I wish he did have the accent though. I mean, that would have made it so much more enjoyable. Said, it's clobbering time, because I mean that's what
Yeah.
makes the clobbering time scene so fucking goofy. Because he's yelling that shit out. It's like, oh, it's clobbering time.
Yep. Yeah, it was definitely, I think they had a lot of misses with him. All the other characters were great, though. Um, well, minus Silver Surfer, I guess. Galactus was awesome, okay? They nailed his look. It was awesome. It gave me chills in the theater. I mean, it was awesome. Um, and I was really worried about Galactus in the movie because I remember when they were marketing the movie and they were talking, of course, Kevin Feige was talking
Fortnite.
about it. He mentioned, I don't know if he mentioned this or if someone else mentioned, I don't know who, but Kevin Feige, instead of showing them, hey, here's the Stanley Jack Kirby stuff, he shows them Fortnite.
Fortnite.
It's it's like what the hell? So I was really concerned with the movie and the way Galactus would look because he looks different in Fortnite, right? I think he
Mm-hmm.
does.
Yeah, it looks way different. He's
Yeah,
like
he
he's like
looked
he's like red and black in Fortnite.
yeah, it's like so I was really worried about Galactus, but they ended up nailing him, I felt. Um, in fact, it was really cool. Like, I think, it was awesome. It was really cool, and it's kinda funny, I've mentioned this before with, Tidus, but it's weird because Rise of the Silver Surfer, which also was loosely based off of this comic art, um, Silver Surfer was pretty cool in that one. Fairly, it was comic accurate and whatever, but Galactus wasn't. He was just a shit cloud in the sky.
That shit cloud.
But but in this, uh, Galactus was great. He was comic accurate, but Silver Surfer was a woman. So I don't know. It's kind of weird how they reversed that. Now if I were to, what would I rather have? I'd rather have this one because at least even though it's a female Silver Surfer, at least at least it's not just like a silver cloud or something. I don't know. There's actually a physical Silver Surfer there. So I would much rather have this than what Rise of Silver Surfer had. Um, but that is something I did notice. Let me read some of these comments here. They made Johnny smart. I love the idea. That was pretty cool. I did like that. I gotta say, it's a decent movie, better than Deadpool versus Wolverine. Uh, I mean, I would say they're on par because they're both good movies. They both just have a lot of problems, though. I think the main problem with Deadpool versus Wolverine, the main problem with that one, it really isn't the movie itself, but it's how it connects with the other Fox movies. Well, it doesn't. That's the problem. It doesn't connect with them.
It's got no
So,
continuity.
literally, if anything, it makes the continuity just 10 times worse than what it already is for the Fox films. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Yes, that's another for sure flaw. Not even 2 hours. I agree. Not sure whether Banlin now. They wanna be different for the sake of being different, and when it comes to, like, comic book movies, that doesn't always work. Shia LaBeouf was in, like, what, 1 comic, Tidus? As Silver Surfer?
Um, is one comic, and it was like an Elseworlds. I don't think in 616 she's ever been Silver Surfer because for a lot of times she's dead. Zen Law got destroyed afterwards. So I think that's in Earth X. Earth X is the comic where Shia LaBeouf becomes Silver Surfer.
Yeah. So, I guess what I mean by comic accurate is accurate to the actual, the main 616 Fantastic Four run. So, thing is Fantastic Four belong from a different I don't know understand this. Do you know what he's trying to say, Titus?
He said thing is Fantastic Four belong from a different multiverse, so no, let's see. Oh, he's saying not the same MC. He's not saying his new comment says not in the same MCU universe.
Oh. See, that is another problem I do have with it. I do wish this just took place in the regular MCU. Like, I wouldn't mind if it's in the 60s. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It would be weird that it was never mentioned ever, but I don't know. Maybe that's probably why they did this because it had no mention. I do want to ask this though. Um, is Franklin Richards, he would be considered a mutant, right?
Yeah, he's a mutant,
That's pretty cool. It's very cool.
but he's an
I
odd.
imagine
Oh, what's up?
I was gonna say that I imagine the post credit for Thunderbolts. I think what they're gonna end up saying is that Doom and Fantastic Four somehow get transported into the main universe, and that's what the Thunderbolts are seeing. They're seeing them getting transported to their universe.
That
That's
prob
what that is. Now,
that probably could be it.
yeah, I mean it has to be it. And I will say I do wish we saw that in the movie. Not Doom, I guess. Well, we did see him a little bit. I wish it was like at the end of like the post credit, I wish it was just them somehow getting transported to the main, the MCU, but I guess the Avengers film will explain that.
Yep.
But I don't know. Overall, it was a good movie. It was there was a lot of fun stuff in it. A lot of not so good stuff. Um, but overall, it was pretty good.
Yep.
So it was very enjoyable.
I
Titus, what is your
I
overall
was.
thoughts?
I mean, I agree to sentiment. I think it's good, but it's not great. It was a fun time, and like I said, I rewatch it solely because it's a good enough portrayal of the Fantastic Four. I can't say that I hate the movie. You know, it's good. But I
Yeah.
was gonna mention very briefly about the Franklin Richards thing is that he's a rare case where like he because I don't know Fantastic Four mythos is like they don't really blend over with the X Men mythos, so they don't use the same terminology at times. But Franklin is a mutant, but I guess his X gene it just activated upon birth.
Hmm.
Which I mean, there's mutants like that. I
Interesting.
mean, Night we saw.
I just said interesting.
Yeah, because I mean, like, there's mutants like Nightcrawler. Like Nightcrawler had his X gene activated upon birth. So I mean, it's not that rare, I guess.
Right.
It's just that it's common for like the X gene to activate during like puberty or like a later stage in life.
Yeah. Let's see what this guy's. My wild theory is Franklin healed Doom's face and shaped it into Tony, I guess. See Franklin's Doom's face. Um,
I mean, that could be it. I mean, that depends how they even explain Doom. Because like, if he's just wearing like the mask for show, like, does he have a scarred face? I don't know.
I hope so. My biggest worry with his Doom is that people are gonna like they're actually gonna look at him and be like, "Is that Tony?" And then like that's all the. I still hope that doesn't happen. Now, if it's Deadpool saying that, That's different, okay? Deadpool, that is who he is. That's his character, that's part of who he is as a character. But the other characters, I don't want them to recognize him. I don't and I guess it's because I don't want them to connect Tony and Doom. I just don't want that. Um, I think that would be lame storytelling, and I just don't want that to happen. If they're gonna have Robert Downey Jr. play Doom, he needs to have his mask on the whole time. So, I know I've talked about this with Tidus, but no, I don't like the casting, but if we have to do it, then keep the damn mask on. And so far, I'm not, like, actually excited about that because the post credit was him with his mask off. We didn't see his face because his back was turned to the camera, but his mask was off. So I'm already concerned. So
I've heard leaks. I don't know how true they are. I just heard like leaks saying that his character in Doomsday is going to be imitating Tony Stark to kind of like gain favor with the Avengers.
that would be just awful.
I'm
I
gonna say
mean,
that that,
I
that
would
that's a
just,
rumor. That's just a rumor. That could be false.
I hope so because if that's the case, it would just be awful. It'd be awful. Oh. And I know I've told Titus this, but if the MCU should still have Kang, because no matter how great Doom could be better than Thanos in terms of his betrayal and what he does, but it won't be better than Thanos. It won't because it won't have the same payoff as Thanos. Thanos had payoff. He was set up since what the first Avengers film,
Yeah, since Avengers 1 with the post
and
credit scene, and even then, it's like you could say
yeah,
that Loki, like the setup of Loki and his plot, tied into Thanos.
right. It's like they were setting Thanos up that whole time, and it had great payoff. I had my issues, a lot of issues actually with Endgame, but it was a satisfying conclusion to the Infinity Saga. With this multiverse saga, it already has a lot of problems because there's no established team, there's no established protagonist like there was with the old one or with the old saga. Um, and now the villains change. At the very least, they could have kept something consistent, and that being Kang, being the main villain. Um, now, if they want Doom a part of it, fair enough, because Doom and Kang have a history in the comics. In fact, they at one point were related. So they should have, still had both of them being. I mean, Kang still might be a part of it. They might recast him, but they should have had Kang be the main villain. I mean, because he was getting set up, it would have had the same payoff. Maybe probably wouldn't have had the same payoff, but it would have had payoff. This Doom stuff, it's not going to have any payoff. I mean, it might be great. They may make this like this version of Doom just better than the other villain. But it won't have the payoff, and you need that kind of payoff when you have multiple films now and TV shows now, kind of been working together to create this overall narrative. And I don't think you're gonna have that in the Avengers films. They may be great, and I honestly think like the reason why they're putting the X-Men in it, uh, not just the X-Men, but like the original Fox X-Men, is to just bring people to the theater. I mean, I don't know. I just think that the the Avengers, it's going to be an interesting movie, and I think there's going to be a lot of issues with it because this whole saga that they've been working on for what 7 years now, 6 years,
Yep.
has problems. It has too many problems. So
Yep. Television's a big part of it because I'll make it sure because it kind of does involve to like a tangent, but Agents of Shield was the foremost like MCU canon show once upon a time. But the thing was
mhm.
that Agents of Shield's writing is that they were trying to contextualize or maybe build up what's happening in the movies, but the movies never took Agents of Shield seriously. And it's the same thing for the Netflix shows, or that the Netflix shows existed in the MCU, but the movies never considered them really seriously. They just kind of like fleshed out the street tier world that was unexplored in the films. And now, ever since Disney Plus and this new era of streaming, Marvel's kind of like, all right, we're taking the TV shows seriously now. But the problem with that is that most of these shows, they don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. I was talking about this with Lance last night. Is that Moon Knight is a main example where that it's a show, but it does not really leave any long term effects on the MCU. Werewolf by Night is a cool special, but it's also similar in the fact it doesn't really have any ramifications. I think the most meaningful shows are probably WandaVision and Loki, but that's like two out of what? How many? Five, six? I don't know. I
Too
mean, I
many.
would. Right. It's like to me like they're oversaturating with shows, and they're setting a precedent that oh yeah, we're taking it seriously now, but since we didn't take Agents of Shield seriously the first time, and it's kind of like most of these shows don't mean the hill of shit. So that's what I'm just saying. Is like I don't know. I feel like that's a big flaw in them is these TV shows.
Yep. Yeah, there just isn't like they're just not, and it's like each phase with the old I think the Thunderbolts movie should have come out a lot earlier than what it did, like Phase 4 earlier. It should have ended with Thunderbolts. And then they're setting up the new Avengers then. And then Phase 5 ended with the next Avengers film. And then leading into Phase 6, which will be, I mean, they can do 2 more Avengers films. They did it in the first multiverse phase where they had 4. It's just there should have been more Avengers films because the Avengers films, they wrapped up each phase, they made each phase make sense, and they led perfectly into the next phase. Um, that's what should have happened. I think that's what made the first saga, the Infinity Saga, so good. I mean, it still has problems, but it's good, and it's because of everything led to the next. Each phase ended with an Avengers film. It tied up that phase perfectly, and it was a great segue into the next phase. Um, hmm, so, and you didn't have that with the multiverse saga, and I think that was a huge reason why it failed. So, or yeah, has been failing, I guess. But I have run out of time, so that's all I've got. That's kind of our general thoughts on the movie. Um, Let me answer some comments here. Uh, Someone wanted Cillian Murphy to be Doom. I don't know who that is. Titus, you know who that is?
Cillian Murphy is the guy that played Oppenheimer, and you're gonna laugh when I say this. Cillian Murphy is the guy that played fucking Roderick in the what Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies.
Head ass. Head ass. Yeah, they did. They could have just recasted him, but oh well. Much connected with this movie. Yeah, there's no structure to it. Yeah, makes sense. Well, that is all we've got. Thank you guys very much for joining. I will see you guys next time. Also, voting on what is today? Friday. So I'm hoping by Sunday I will have that up. Maybe tomorrow if I have the time. And then if you want me and Titus to do like more Marvel stuff, let us know because we both love Marvel too. So um we might do some like comic reviews and whatever. I might make him finish the Claremont
Ooh.
run.
Ooh.
But yeah, thank you guys very much for joining. I'll see you guys next time.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.